Hello and welcome to MandoBug Crafts, episode 2. I am MandoBug. You can find me on most social media websites under MandoBug. I also go by Amanda in the real world. You can refer to me as that if you want. I want to say welcome if you are a new viewer, and thank you if you're a returning viewer. I know my first episode was kind of rough. For this one, I'm actually using a real recorder, not just my webcam, so hopefully you can hear me better, not hear the fan on my laptop, and maybe it's a little clearer and my colors will show up better. Well, that's what I hope at least. So let's get right into it. I want to start with something I've learned. So in this segment I want to share something I've learned this week or recently or something along those lines. So I want to talk about Kool-Aid Dying. So this week, oh goodness, you know that thick and thin spinning that I had done, my very first spinning ever. I mentioned it last episode and I wasn't going to show it to you, and I'll show it to you later because it's going to count as my finished object this week. But I Kool-Aid dyed it. So the roving I had bought was just white natural Cheviot, and so it was great for dyeing. And so I went over to my friend's house. I'll set up a little link at the bottom of the video so you can check out her blog and podcast. You can find her as Knitwhim on Ravelry and Arcanewhim for her blog, and also for her podcast, I believe. If that's wrong, I'll edit this. So I went over to her house this couple days ago, and we both tried out Kool-Aid Dying for the first time. So I want to share a couple tips that mostly I learned, because she was kind of pro at it, even though it was for her first time. Hers turned out way better than mine. So first I want to mention, buy enough Kool-Aid packets. We didn't really, okay, I ran out. Okay, I'll be honest. I ran out of color. And I guess she kind of ran out of color too, because she had planned different colors, and she had to use ones that she wasn't necessarily planning on. So make sure you buy enough packets. I've seen it's recommended online on other blogs and websites about 1 packet per ounce of fiber. And this seemed to be about true. It depends on the color. So if you're going to use yellows or greens, I think it was, it takes a lot more packets. I used a lot of orange, and it still needed quite a few packets, and when I show you my object later in the show, you'll see that there are some white spots because I ran out of color. But that's something to make sure if you're going to Kool-Aid dye, make sure you buy enough packets. And also, the amount of water doesn't matter. The water just helps the wool soak up the color, but if you don't have enough Kool-Aid packets in there, it will be really concentrated in certain areas of the fiber and then not soak in the other colors at all. No matter what, as long as you, if you didn't have enough of the color, it will leave like this white murky water behind. And if you put too much color in, which is I also did that, it won't soak up all of the color. It'll become heavily saturated, which is great for color, but not for your fingers, which takes me to my next tip. If you're anything like me, wear gloves. You probably can't tell right now, but I have, yeah, it's mostly gone away. I have a picture, which I'll share on my blog, of my hands after we were done dyeing. They were murder red. Oh my goodness, it looked like I had murdered somebody. And it took a couple days to wash out, and even now, like, you can't really tell on the camera, but around my fingernails are still red from the dye. So wear gloves. I think that also happened because I was using shallow pans, so I also recommend using a deeper bowl so that you can really saturate your yarn. I kind of was like rolling my yarn in the water because it was, like I said, it was a shallow pan, and so it was like a lot of hand intensive work, and I made a mess. So I think, oh, and then the other tip I have is after you've soaked and dyed the yarn and left it out to dry, give it another wash. You don't mix the Kool-Aid with sugar, so it's not really the sugar that's left behind, but after your yarn dries, it is a little crunchy. And it might be from putting too much of the dye in. I'm not really sure what caused it, but I washed my yarn again and it got rid of that. And let me just say, a cool feature of the Kool-Aid Dying is your yarn smells delicious. It smells like all the little fruit flavors that you used, and that's pretty awesome. So, Kool-Aid Dying. It's fun, but if you've never done it before, heed my tips, because I wish I would have known about those things in advance. And you know what? It was probably out there, and knowing me, I just was like, oh, I can figure this out, and I skipped past it all. So don't be like me. So next, my work in progresses. I have primarily been working on my baby blanket this week, the ripple blanket that I shared last week. I haven't had a lot of crafting time. I've been working a lot. So that's never fun, but I did get a lot of work done on this blanket. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see, but okay, it's almost done. I mean, technically the crocheting part is done. It's about 32 inches by 36. Let's see. Maybe I can stand up and maybe back away so you can get a bigger idea of the blanket. So, it's not a finished object because, remember the ends that I was not weaving in? Yeah, they're all over the place. So, I'm still weaving those in. It shouldn't take more than like maybe a half hour. So, it's close to done. It's an almost finished object, but technically, it's still a work in progress. I really enjoyed this pattern, like I said, with the K-hook that I used. It flew by. I mean, I probably didn't sit on this project for more than, it had to be no more than 20 hours. I don't think it was that much, but sometimes I'm sitting in front of the TV crocheting, and this is one of those mindless patterns you can memorize, that I don't realize how long I've actually been crocheting for, because I may be engrossed in whatever movie or TV show I'm into, so not exactly sure, but I did only start this pattern like a week ago. So if you want a quick baby blanket, this is a great pattern, and it's cute. I mean, you don't have to use Halloween colors like I did, but you can. So also I did some spinning. So I showed you my first ounce on the needle last week, and so I have a little over a half an ounce on my spindle here. I didn't show you my spindle last week. It's nothing super special. It's about 1.7 ounces in weight. I got it from Alba Ranch on Etsy, and if that's wrong, I'll also leave a note, but I think that's right. And it came with the pack, so I'm not 100% sure how much it was, if that's something you're interested in. But it came with 4 ounces of Cheviot, which I'll show you that I've spun up later. That's the Kool-Aid dyed yarn. That's going well. I don't know if I mentioned last episode, but I do plan on spinning this 3-ply. I was spinning it as thin as I could, and I realized that I was actually spinning it thinner than I thought I would be able to. So 2-ply would leave me with a fingering weight, and I kind of want a worsted weight for this color, so I'm going to 3-ply it. So hopefully that'll make it fluffy too, because I've read the more plies you've had, the more fluffiness will come back to the fiber. So we'll see how that goes. I also have my embroidery, which I did not finish on time. Today is September 1st. And you're probably like, what? Because I'm not uploading this video till tomorrow. But today is September 1st, and this was an August hoop, which I did not finish. I'm not too upset about that. Okay, I am a little bit. But, you know, I don't participate always for the prizes, so I'm not upset that I didn't get to be put in for a prize. But I am upset that this was my own design that I was really excited to share, and I'm still going to share it anyways. It just will be late, and you kind of feel like you're not participating if it's not done on time. So that sad. I'll just have to work harder at doing more embroidery so that September's theme, I can get it up and ready in time. But last week when I showed you, I had only done the spider webs on the top and the bottom and started outlining the date. I colored in the pumpkins with a technique called crayon tinting. You just take a crayon to it, highlight the areas you want and the colors you want, and then iron it to set the color in. And now I've started stitching around. I've done the male pumpkin's hat in black, and I'm starting to outline the pumpkins in orange. And then I will go back and outline the date. So, I mean, I got close. I just didn't finish. But I will finish it because it is for me and my husband, and I do want to put this up in the house. And I didn't show you last week, but I do want to share the frame because I got this and it just was so gothic and beautiful. I think that the embroidery will look super fancy in this frame. So that is something that I'm excited to finish, even though it was not finished on time. So I also have been working on this shawl. I didn't show you last week because I started this project a while ago and I hadn't been working on it lately. But this has kind of been put into my project bag that I carry with me. So this shawl, I'll show you the progress I have sewed together. So this will be for my grandma. I am using Vanna's Choice Glamour. It's a fingering weight and it's got glitter in it. I don't know. There you go. Autofocus. It's got this really pretty glitter in it. The glitter does make the yarn a little scratchy. And it is acrylic, so it's already a little scratchy, but I don't suspect my grandma will be hand washing this, so acrylic was the best choice. I'm using an E-hook, and this pattern is by Drops. It's 125-3 crochet shawl in kid silk. I mean, if you're familiar with Drops patterns, they're written for their own yarn as a promotional thing. I have never used Drops yarn, so I'm sure it's great in the yarn they prefer for it, but it is also working up well in this Vanna's Choice Glamour. This is what the skein looks like. I think so far, oh, here's the side with her face. I think, well, I don't know what I think, apparently, because that's gone. Why I like to take this project with me in my bag is because it's in motifs. So you make these little squares and you sew them all together. The sewing is a pain in the butt. This is a fingering weight yarn. I think the pattern asks for fingering weight. If not lace weight, I'm not sure. But it is not fun to sew these tiny seams together, and because it's not forgiving. So I hope you're good at sewing if you're going to attempt this project. It is free. I've heard that Drops free patterns are difficult to follow, but I have not had any issues with this project yet. So I guess that's a plus for them on this end. So that's it for my work in progresses. My finished object, my yarn. I didn't put it over here, so let me grab it. I left it over there on my shelf. So of course. So me and Knitwhim, we put together, well, we didn't put together. We had kind of looked over Stacy Trock of FreshStitches. She put a blog post down on Kool-Aid Dying, which is really great. I highly recommend you check it out. I'll link to it on my blog. So there were 3 different ways to dye your yarn, and she chose the 2 most simplest ways, and of course, me being the crazy person I am, picked the hardest way to do it. I have never bought gradient dyed yarn, and so I wanted to try to do it myself. It's difficult. I don't recommend it your first time dyeing yarn. So my idea was initially to go from a light orange to a pink orange. and that did not happen, mostly because I ran out of orange. I really think that was the biggest problem that I ran into, but here's my yarn. It doesn't like to skein up, and I tied it together with some pink acrylic, so I hope you don't think that's part of my yarn. So that's the pink acrylic I tied it together with. But this is my yarn. So here is the pink side that went into the, it was supposed to be like pink, dark orange to light orange. And it's really a pink to dark orange to this variegated orange, which is beautiful. I wish I would have done the entire skein in this variegated orange color. It's like a white to mid-orange to dark orange, which was caused by me not having enough orange. But regardless, it smells delicious, and I will still be using it. It doesn't like to hang up. I don't know what I did wrong when I was spinning it. If you know, let me know, comment or send me a message on Ravelry or on my blog. It just kind of is limp, and I have washed it a bunch. I don't know if that is a reason why it's not super twisty. I like to kind of twist it and then put it in a ball and be like, oh, look it, it's cute. But really, I think it's supposed to twist up on its own. But I am super excited. My first skein of spun wool and dyed. So I'm planning on making this into a hat. Probably gonna mix it. It's a bulky weight. I don't know if you can tell in the camera. Autofocus. It's a bulky weight. I think I'm gonna buy a coordinating bulky weight color and mix it in for a hat. Since I do only have 100 yards, I am afraid it might not be enough for an entire hat. And I'm fine with a beanie, but I still fear it may not be enough. So I'll probably mix it. I thought about doing color work with it, but that doesn't really give me more yardage when I work with another color. I don't think that would work, so I'm not gonna do that. So that's my finished object, only one. That blanket would have been finished if I didn't go out shopping today, which I won't bore you with that story, but the gist of it was we went shopping for a printer and ended up with a desktop and a printer, so that took up most of my day. Not really sure how that happened, but it is exciting anyways. So my one finished object. And the next section I have is enabling. So I have two things. One is more enabling than the other, if that makes sense. I get Joann's coupons in the mail, and I really like to use the good coupons on books. And actually this coupon I got wasn't even at Joann's. I was buying my groceries at Food Lion, and I got a coupon for 50% off an item at Joann's, and I was like, how do they know? They're like stalking me, because I don't think everyone that shops at Food Lion shops at Joann's, but I do. So when I get really awesome coupons like that, I like to use them on books, because there's never a time that buying a hard reference book was a bad idea. I've been eyeballing this book for a while, and I'm so glad that I bought it. It's A to Z of crochet, and I've been crocheting for a while, but there's still stitches in this book that I've never done, and it's, I'll open it up so you can get a sneak peek at it. One section in particular that caught my eye was this one. It's about crochet, see if you can see it. It's about crocheting with beads and sequins, and there's a lot of pictures in this book. It's very user-friendly, and it's got basically any stitch that there is in crochet. It's got a whole section on Tunisian. It's got, I mean, it's really complete and very not video, but photographic tutorials. So I plan on teaching myself the loop stitch out of here. I plan to learn to crochet with some sequins. I've kind of semi-taught myself to crochet with beads, but I can use this to check to see if I'm doing it correctly, and maybe perfect my ugly bullion stitch. But I do highly recommend this book. It's normally $18.99 and I got a 50% off, so can't beat that. And then the other thing for enabling is not really an enabling. It's me being whiny. I'm brand new to knitting, which I mentioned in my last episode, and I ordered needles off of Knitpicks for my upcoming mystery knit-along by Alba Brigio. I'm not sure, it's in Spanish, but they came in. I ordered interchangeables because I figured I'd slowly work my way up to an entire set. So I ordered size 6 needle tips and 16-inch cables. Well, I ordered 24-inch cables, but I received 16-inch cables. And like it's not necessarily their fault, but in a way it is. The package I received had a sticker on the bottom that said 24-inch circulars. But when I opened it, they were really small, so I measured them and they're only 16-inch. And the pattern, the mystery pattern, calls for at least 24 inches. So I'm pretty sad about that. I haven't contacted them yet to see what their response will be, but I'm really hoping it's positive and doesn't cause me to spend any more money than I already have, because most of us crafters are not rich. So hopefully that turns out to be a positive experience. So like I said, it's on the fence with enabling, because if it turns out to be a good experience, then I'm so pro Knitpicks, and if it doesn't, then I guess I'm just whiny and sad. So that's it for enabling. And then I want to have a segment here at the end for upcoming stuff and events, but I don't think there's anything upcoming for me right now. But I feel like in the future it will be a spot that I can fill with information for you. So that's all I have for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you stay tuned for the next one. Alright.